Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell.
Dear Mom and Dad, Robert bowed dutifully to his parents, giving them a solemn look. Meet Emily, my fiancée. Son. His father's eyebrows rose in amazement. Surprised, so surprised. Are you sure that this is the girl you are ready to call your wife? Yes, Dad. The son, satisfied with the effect, smiled. Just as you wanted, a girl from the deep country, a redneck. Emily, meet Kathy, my mother, and this imposing man, Sebastian, my father. He pushed the girl towards her parents, whispering in her ear, "Don't forget why you're here. They don't have to like you." Emily grabbed Sebastian's hand and shook it vigorously. "It's so nice to meet you. Robert has told me a lot about you." The man was shocked by the girl's directness, but smiled back politely. "Oh." Letting go of her father's hand, with childish naivety, Emily opened her surprised eyes wide and turned to Kathy. "How do you walk in heels like that? It's to die not to get up. How hard it is. In our village, you can't take a step in such shoes. Your heels will fall into the ground at once." She laughed. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong?" The girl turned to Robert, noticing the fright in the woman's eyes. "No, dear." The guy put his arm around the bride. "Everything is fine. It's just that my parents didn't expect to see us together today, so they can't come to their senses yet." Emily waved her hand and laughed. "We have everything simple. Everyone goes to visit each other when they want, and I heard that you have to make an appointment in advance, almost to make an appointment." "Parents?" The son was having fun. "Why are you frozen? It's rude to have guests on the doorstep." "Granddaughter." Jenna ran out onto the porch as soon as she saw Emily in the driveway. "My granddaughter's back. I waited for you at last. I've been so worried about you." "Grandma, hello." Emily left the suitcase and hugged the old woman. "Why are you crying?" Wiping her tears, laughed the girl. "Everything is good. We are together again." "Yes, from joy. Come into the house. Hungry? Probably. I baked pies. Cooked meat, as you like." "How beautiful you've become. But you're very thin. I'll fatten you up quickly at home matches, or you won't be able to work. At home." Emily put the suitcase down and took a deep breath. "I missed you so much. Wash my hands and go to the table, or everything will get cold." Delicious. The girl even squinted with pleasure, eating meat in a pot. "Why have you lost so much weight?" The grandmother lamented. "Didn't you cook?" "All in Kaffa's? She's all skin and bones left." "Nothing if there were bones, and the meat will grow. I had no time for the last few months, diploma defense, and I was nervous a lot. Nothing, you'll get better quickly in the fresh air and at home. Will you rest a little? I'm going to work in 2 days." The farm director called almost every day, asking when I'll be back. They're really short-staffed over there. "Wow, your parents would be so proud of you." Jenna had tears in her eyes. They didn't live to see this happy hour. Emily looked at the picture of her parents hanging on the wall, her father and Mother Young smiling. "I almost don't remember them." The girl said sadly, "I only remember my mother putting me to bed and singing a lullaby every night, and my father taking me for a ride on the boat in the summer. I was terribly afraid, but I still sat down with him." "Yes, you were only 7 years old when they died. Of course, you don't remember much. You were under so much stress. Memory erases what's left over. I also remember how happy we were together, and then the car accident ruined everything." "Grandma." Emily took the older woman's hand, kissed it. "Thank you for not putting me in an orphanage. It's thanks to you that I decided to study to be a veterinarian. What else could you have been?" Jenna smiled through her tears. I grew up with animals, and I had to keep all kinds of animals to feed you. I remember we had geese, chickens, 2 goats, and a cow, Star. That's right. I loved taking care of them. The thing I hated the most was the hay rides, the mosquitoes in the summer. Remember when you used to pick up stray animals? Treating them, nursing them back to health. Provided the neighbors with kittens and puppies. Where are our cats, by the way? Why don't you see them? Where would they be? Out on the street. They don't know you're here yet, or they would have come running long ago. Emily laughed happily. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, and a pretty middle-aged woman appeared on the doorstep. "Hello, neighbors." She said hello with a ringing voice. And I look at my grandmother. Some beauty from the city came. I think, an artist or what? But it's her granddaughter who's come to see her. Emily, what a woman you've become. The woman, plucking her tongue, admiringly looked at the guest. I don't recognize her, a city girl with a higher education. You probably won't say hello now. Come on, Aunt Cindy. Emily got up from the table. I always think of you fondly. Thank you for supporting my grandmother while I was in college. I had peace of mind for her. Come and have dinner with us, Cindy. You don't have to stand on the doorstep. You know you're always welcome. Thank you, I'd like that. Did you wait for Jenna? To think what a strong girl you've got. She went to college on her own, graduated, and went back to work in the village. Are you proud of your granddaughter, Jenna? Why didn't you stay in town, Emily? There are more suitors there than in our village. There's no one to look at. How will grandmother be without me? The girl looked kindly at the old woman. The village needs veterinarians too. And the city is not interesting. There are more pussycats. Dogs have to treat, and here from me will be more useful, and the people are kinder, and I'm too early to get married. Who'd have thought it, Jenna? That your granddaughter would grow up to be such a good-looking girl. She was a wretch when she was a child, and God gave her intelligence and beauty. Tell me about it. The director is waiting for her. Can't wait to go to work. Looking proudly at her granddaughter, said Jenna. Only gave her 2 days off. Oh, what's going on? Of course, the farm needs specialists. We don't have enough young people. Now everyone is running away from the village to the city. And you, Emily, on the contrary, to the village. Well, I'm glad I came back. While the neighbors were discussing the latest village news, Emily went to her room. She wanted to rest from the road because very soon she was going to start work. Since Monday, the girl got a job as a veterinarian. How is my granddaughter? Asked after a while, Jenna asked the farm director, Is she doing well? She's a smart girl, young, but she knows everything. She takes on any job, and the team accepted her right away. She doesn't refuse to help anyone. You, Jenna, have raised a good granddaughter. When she gains experience, I'll make her the chief veterinarian of the whole district. I like her very much, smart, talkative, and friendly with people. With everyone will stop, talk, and with livestock knows how to handle. Every morning, Emily went to work with pleasure. Everyone loved her, often came for advice. What are we going to do, Emily? One day the farm manager came to her. In the district for us ordered medicines, and the driver is sick. Somehow we need to bring. And who's going? One is on a business trip. Another's car broke down. The third was on his way to a friend's wedding. And not everyone will trust such a load. And you can't wait. You can't give expired vaccines. I've asked everyone. Nobody's going to the neighborhood anytime soon. If it's an emergency, I'll go. You? Do you even have a license? I have a license. I got it 6 months ago. I don't have much experience, but I can get to the city. But it's a bit scary there. There's a lot of cars. but I'll take it easy. Where will you get a car? I've got a Ford from my dead grandfather. Oh, Emily, if you help me out, I'll never forget it. Emily came home, and the first thing she did was look at the car. Where are you going? Asked her grandmother. Are you really going by car? I need to bring medicines to the city. They are perishable. Is there no one else but you? No one. It's okay. I'll manage. I'll drive slowly. What kind of people are these? The old woman lamented. They know you can't refuse, so they ride on you. They sit on your neck and dangle their legs. Will they at least pay for the gas? They will? Already at the door, said the girl. Emily, taking her time, drove to the city and carefully maneuvering in the flow of cars, reached the destination. Having quickly loaded the boxes with medicines, she started on her way back. Who puts cars like this? She was indignant, driving out of the parking lot. There are markings. No, they'll just do something like this. Oh God, she prayed, looking carefully in one mirror and then the other. Help her get out of the parking lot without hitting anyone. She was about to pull into the driveway when she heard a screeching sound. Oh my God! The girl shrieked. I've hit her. I'm dead. Not alive, not dead. She struggled to get out of her car to see what she had done. A guard was already running toward her, and he didn't look like a good guy. Oh shit! He shouted from afar. What have you done? Who taught you to back up like that? Where did you learn to drive like that? I was driving normally. Emily had tears in her eyes. It's so crowded around here. You must have bought a license. The man was indignant. Where were your eyes? Were you putting on lipstick or talking on the phone? Do you realize how much money you're in for? To ruin a new car, you have to be such a teapot. I didn't realize I was getting too close to her. What am I going to tell the owner? He put it here on purpose so that such headless people wouldn't park next to it. But no, you brainless chicken. Stop insulting me. I admit I'm guilty. I'll make it up to you. Of course you'll confess. Now you'll have to figure out where you'll get the money to pay for the repairs. How much do you think they'll charge? Are you stupid? Look at the car. You can't even dream of this kind of money. The guard dialed the number of the car's owner. I'll have to work half my life to pay him back. Robert, come to the parking lot, please. We got a problem here. What's wrong? An anxious Robert approached his car. Look what this lady did. The guard pointed to the scratch that marred the shiny side of the expensive foreign car. How's that? I left my car here on purpose so that it would be looked after 24 hours a day. I pay a hefty monthly deposit, and you didn't see it. I'm sorry, Robert. The security guard was making excuses. It's not my fault. How can you drive a wreck like that? The owner of the foreign car attacked Emily. Where did you find this rusty bucket of nuts? You should be banned from driving at all. He shouted. You should be forbidden to stand next to normal cars. Do you even have a license? It was an accident. The girl shrank from fright. I thought I could get out without hitting anyone. She thought she did. Robert raged. If you can't drive, you shouldn't be driving. I'll pay for the repairs. The girl mumbled quietly, smearing tears on her cheeks. Of course you will. Do you know how much it will cost you? He named the cost. The girl shrieked quietly. Well, I don't have that kind of money now. I don't care. I can't drive a car like this. I'll have to go to a repair shop immediately. When will you give me the money? I'll give it to you. Helplessly, looking at the man, she said, only in installments. In installments? And when will you pay off the debt? In the next life? I'll earn it, I promise. Our wages are small, but I'll take an extra job and pay you back. What can you earn in your village?" The boy brushed it off. "All right, go today. I'll clarify the amount in the repair shop." "Don't worry, I won't take too much, but I'm not going to forgive you either. Just leave me your details, name, address, phone number. I will contact you later. I will decide what to do with you." Upset Emily drove out of town, her hands shaking. She could barely keep from bursting into tears. At the edge of the village, she stopped the car and finally let the tears flow. All of them. The girl tried to pull herself together. "Grandma mustn't guess that I'm in trouble. I'll take care of it myself." She looked at herself in the mirror, wiped her tears, took a few deep breaths, and started the car. But Jenna's heart already sensed something wrong. She went out to meet her granddaughter. "Why are you so late? I was beginning to worry." The old woman carefully looked at the girl, and she carefully hid her eyes. "Were you crying?" "No, not at all, Grandma." Emily smiled. "It's just a lot of traffic at the end of the day. You know, that's why I was late. I was a little nervous." "It's okay. I brought the medicine so there's enough work for everyone tomorrow." "Why are you lying to me?" "Seriously," said the old woman. "I can see that something has happened to you. Tell me you've always trusted me. You imagined it. Never mind." "Emily, what happened?" Jenna insisted. She sat the girl down at the table and sat opposite. "Don't hold it in. The two of us can solve any problem. I scratched someone else's car." "Eh?" The woman covered her mouth with her hand and stared at her fearfully. "What about it? Did you scratch it badly? Was it an expensive car?" "Very expensive. I'll never make that kind of money in my whole life." "Grandma?" Emily jumped up as she saw the old woman suddenly turn pale, sigh sharply, and start to slump on her side. "What's wrong with you? Are you sick? I'll call an ambulance. Be patient, my dear." "Ambulance, come quickly. My grandmother's heart is bad." The car came quickly. After examining the patient, the doctor took her to the hospital. "I'll go with you." The girl fidgeted, not knowing what to grab. "No, stay at home. You can't help her now anyway. Come back tomorrow, but in the meantime, pack her things, put everything she needs. Jenna's been taken away. It's my fault." Emily berated herself. She paced from corner to corner, biting her lip nervously. She shouldn't have told her about the accident. Her heart was weak as it was, and now she'd learned about the repair bill, and it had finally brought her down. "I wish everything would be all right. And the money I'll collect, I'll persuade the owner of the foreign car to wait, so that he is not a man or what. You can see he's rich. He thinks this amount is a trifle, but for us it's a fortune." That night she almost did not sleep, barely waited until morning, canceled her work and went to the hospital. "Grandma." She rushed to the old woman, entering the room. "I was so scared yesterday when you fainted. I'm sorry, it was all my fault. It wasn't your fault. I guess it's time for me to go to your parents." The old woman looked sadly at her granddaughter. "Only the thought keeps me thinking, how can you stay here alone?" No, don't think about bad things. Just lie, please. I need you very much. I'll go talk to the doctor and you get some rest." Emily left Jenna and went to the residence room. "Doctor, how's my grandmother? When is she coming home?" "I can't tell you anything definite yet. We got the seizure under control, but she's gonna have to stay with us for a while. We need to do a full workup. Then we'll know what kind of treatment she'll need." Emily was torn between work, home, and hospital. She visited the old lady every day. She's all done for. Her grandmother told her, "You've lost weight. Only your eyes are left on your face. Not enough to make you sick. Don't you eat at all?" "No time." The girl waved me off, Nothing, you'll be back. I'll be back to normal in no time on your pies. But don't stay here too long. I'd like to leave now. I feel a little better already, but the doctor won't let me go. I'm having tests every day. What do they want to find out? You should go to the doctor. Ask him when he's going to release me. I'd be back on my feet faster at home. I can't stand lying here. The girl tracked down the doctor and inquired, "Do you need any medication?" "You tell me, I'll get it. Medication can't help here." The doctor frowned. "We need to operate, and urgently. Surgery." "Then do it. What are you waiting for?" "It's a paid operation." "How paid?" The doctor didn't say anything. "Okay, but there are quotas, right?" "On the quota, the queue for the year ahead, and if we do not make your grandmother's surgery in the next 2-3 months, you will lose her." "How much is the surgery?" The doctor wrote down the amount on a piece of paper and silently handed it to Emily. "Where are we going to get such money?" exclaimed the girl in despair. "Is it impossible to do anything? There are some foundations that help to find money. There are funds, but they tend to help the young and your grandmother. Excuse me, age. What am I supposed to do?" Emily cried out of desperation. "Don't give up. Your grandmother doesn't need the extra worry right now, and look for money." "I don't know. Borrow from someone, take out a loan. Without surgery, how long can she live?" "Until the first stress. She's in mortal danger from any kind of excitement right now. Can you keep her from worrying?" "No." "Think about it. Surgery is the only thing that will help her." The girl returned home, completely powerless, lay down in bed without undressing. She opened herself up with a blanket and sobbed into her pillow. "I'll never find that kind of money," she read. "Even if I sold everything here, I wouldn't get that kind of money. What can I do? Where can I find the damn money? There must be some way out." Her sobs were interrupted by a phone call. An unfamiliar number popped up on the screen. "Hello." Emily answered cautiously. "Emily, it's Robert." "Remember me? You scratched my car." The girl went cold. It had been 3 weeks since the accident, and she had forgotten about it, busy with domestic problems. "Yes, I remember." "Unsure," she answered. "I'm calling to find out when you're going to pay me back for the repair." "How much?" In a hoarse voice of excitement, she asked. "You'd better not know." Robert laughed. "I doubt very much you have any. I'll try, I'll earn it." Emily spoke quickly. "I'll give it to you as promised. I have another offer." "What?" The girl was surprised. "This is not a telephone conversation. Can we meet tomorrow at the cafe after work?" "I don't understand. What do you want from me?" "I told you I'll give you the money. I'll tell you everything when we meet. If you come, otherwise I'll sue you for the repair money." "Do you want that kind of trouble?" "Okay, I'll come over." Emily reluctantly agreed. She showed up a little before the appointed time. "Will you order something?" The waiter asked her politely. "Yes, a cup of coffee, please." She stared hatefully out the window, waiting for Robert. There was a cup of coffee in front of her, but she didn't even touch it. "Good evening." She heard and shuddered in surprise. "Sorry, I'm late. Business. I suggest we go straight to you." Emily nodded in agreement, glanced at the car parked in front of the cafe, and blushed. The black, shiny side of the car still had a huge scratch on it, and it looked especially ugly in the burgundy rays of the setting sun. "Tell me quickly what you want. Take your time." Robert grinned. "You won't get rid of me that easily, and you'll have to pay for it anyway. I won't sleep with you." "Don't even count on it." Emily cut Emily off angrily. "What makes you think I want to sleep with you?" The young man raised his eyebrows in surprise. I'm not going to throw myself at your bones, he remarked, hinting at her slim figure. I have a business proposition for you. If you do everything right, I will not only forgive the debt, but also give you money. Emily looked at him with interest. What do you want me to do? You see, I'm from a wealthy family, and my parents for some reason decided that I must marry the daughter of my father's childhood friend. Is she ugly? That's not the point. I don't love her. I already have a fiancé of my own choosing, but I know for a fact that my parents won't agree to our marriage. My father will think of disinheriting me, and I don't want that. I don't understand. What does this have to do with me? You're going to play my fiancé. What? She looked at Robert in surprise. Are you out of your mind? I've thought of everything. The young man hurried on. My father is a very stubborn man. There's no way he'd let me marry someone like you. What's wrong with me? The girl looked at him suspiciously. It's written on your forehead. A hillbilly. I still don't understand. What don't you understand? I'll introduce you as my fiancé. My father, of course, will fight to keep us from getting married. In his mind, you're no match for the rich heir to the family business, and we'll have to part ways. I resent the whole world and my father, who did me such an injustice. I will stop eating and sleeping. My torment of lost love will become unbearable for others. Robert accompanied his fiery speech with theatrical gestures. Emily, smiling, looked at him. But I won't suffer for long, to be honest. I won't last a day without food, but a couple of months or so. My parents, of course, my suffering will bring a lot of grief. My father, out of guilt towards his son, will eventually agree to all my terms. That's when I'll introduce Kelly to them as my true one and only lover. By then, no one will even remember my friend's hated daughter. I get to marry the girl I love, you get the reward, and we're even. $50. Emily said quickly. What? I don't understand, Robert. I want $50,000 and not a dime less for helping you. The girl repeated firmly. Robert looked at her dumbfounded and even coughed, choking with indignation. Aren't you confused now? Actually, you still owe me for the repair of the car. Isn't it too expensive for your services? I didn't expect that. You look like you're doing the right thing. Or you're paying that much, categorically declared the girl, desperately looking at him. Or I refuse to participate in your play. Find another fool who agrees to play the village simpleton. I'm sure she'll cost you more. It's none of my business, of course. But why do you need so much money? Where are you going to spend it in your village? As you rightly said, it's none of your business. Emily squeezed her eyes shut, not letting the tears escape. It's not for me. My grandmother urgently needs an operation. This money is for her. If I don't find this amount of money soon, she could die at any moment. I have no choice. Robert hummed, hesitated for a moment, then waved his hand. To hell with you. You'll get your $50. When are we going to meet the parents? The girl sighed with relief and answered, the day after tomorrow. Well, Robert said cheerfully and held out his hand to Emily. Shall we make a deal? Deal. She held out hers in return. I'll be there to pick you up, ready when you are. I'm on my way. Are you ready? Robert called at the agreed time. Ready. Looking back at the old woman, the girl replied in a whisper. The grandmother slept in her room. Emily went in from time to listen to her breathing. Just stop the car on the outskirts of the village. I don't want Grandma to see you. Why not? The young man was surprised. I don't want to worry her unnecessarily. I can't lie, and telling the truth would kill her. I got it. I'm already here. I'm waiting for you. I'm on my way. Emily hung up. "Grandma?" The girl peeked into the room. Jenna opened her eyes. "I've been invited to visit here. Will you be alone?" She looked at her guiltily. "Oh, how nice, of course I will." The old woman was happy. "Though, have some fun at least. Why should you stay at home with a sick old woman? Your business is young. Are you feeling all right? Don't worry, you'll rest at least. You're exhausted. I see. If you need anything, call me immediately. I'll be right over." "Okay." Emily kissed her grandmother. "Go with God, my dear." Robert looked with interest at the girl who was hurrying along the road. Yes, she was dressed, to put it bluntly, out of fashion. The young man thought to himself, "The dress is simple. They don't wear such clothes nowadays, only for the village. It's good that it's not up to her heels, but her legs are nice and her hair is gorgeous. She should go to a good master. He could make a princess out of her." Emily, feeling his gaze on her, fixed her hair in embarrassment. Usually she put it in a tight braid so it wouldn't get in the way at work, but today she left it loose and slightly curled the ends. "Don't you have another dress?" asked Robert when the girl got into the car. "What's wrong with my dress?" "I'm sorry. Famous brands do not sell in our stores, and I don't have the money, as you know. I don't have. Besides, I'm supposed to play a hillbilly, and we have our own fashion. We can't keep up with you city folk, can we?" "Okay, no offense," peacefully said Robert and started the car. "It suits you." "Let's go." And he started the car. "Now listen to me. You have to create the image of a country girl who is dead set on the major. Sleeping and seeing how to marry me off so you can get a city license. Your parents can't guess that you've got a college degree under your belt. Let them see you as a poorly educated, uneducated girl. It's gonna be tough. It's okay. For 50,000 you'll work hard and you'll play it right. Remember, you have to scare them, push them away. Don't say or do anything to make them feel sorry for you or, God forbid, sympathize with you." "We're here," Robert announced, stopping the car outside the 3-story mansion. "Have you memorized everything?" "Yes, I'll try to play my part well." The young people walked into the house. Emily was worried. "Robert, at last, we've been waiting for you." Mother was the first to rush out to greet them. "Dear Mom and Dad," Robert bowed dutifully to his parents, giving them a solemn look. "Meet Emily, my fiancée." Emily was shy, sunk her gaze and remained silent, a light blush playing on her cheeks. "Son?" The father's eyebrows rose in amazement. "Surprised, so surprised. Are you sure that this is the girl you are ready to call your wife?" "What's wrong with that, Dad?" "Emily is a very nice, sweet girl. Yeah, she's not what you're used to seeing around me, but that's what I appreciate about her. What a big house you have." Gaining courage, Emily announced the living room with a glance. "It must be worth a lot of money." "Great. My grandmother and I have a small house. And the furniture." She was genuinely admiring the furnishings. "I don't even want to hurt it." Playing her role, she began to look with interest at the paintings hanging on the walls. Paintings, she touched one. Never understood why to buy them. There is no use from them, only collect dust. Paintings are aesthetically useful, if you know what I mean. Grumbled Father spitefully, looking at the girl. "They should be admired, eh?" Emily looked around again. "Why is the vase on the floor?" The girl touched it. "Careful, my dear," Kathy exclaimed warningly. "It's a 16th century vase. It can't be. And how well preserved is it?" "Wow, I've only seen these in history books." The parents were pathetic to look at. Robert chuckled to himself, but didn't interfere. I suggest we sit at the table." My father resolutely went to his seat. "Oh, really? I'm so confused." Kathy had the servants bring the hot pot. "Emily, what do you do?" "I work on the farm." "And where did you and our son meet?" "In a nightclub, wasn't it?" "What do you think? That if I'm from the country, I'm so dark?" "No, I don't think so." My mother was embarrassed. "Do you live with your grandmother?" "Where are your parents?" "They died in a car accident." "I'm so sorry, we didn't know." "Oh, it's okay. It was a long time ago. I don't really remember them. We're serving meat." Emily, pretending to be an uneducated hillbilly, grabbed a fork and hurriedly began to eat the meat. When she noticed Kathy's horrified look on her face, she was embarrassed. "I'm sorry." With her mouth full, she said, "Am I doing something wrong? Take your time, take the knife. That's not the way to behave at the table here." Robert said in a deliberately loud voice, "Oh, I didn't know." The fork accidentally fell out of the girl's hands right on the floor. "I'm sorry, I'll clean it up." She's blushing. "I'm so clumsy." "That's okay." "No." Emily jumped up. "I'll clean up my own mess. I'm used to doing everything myself. That's commendable, of course, but in our house we have special people to do it." Kathy remarked and pressed her lips together. Robert was having fun. Wow, I'd already believed she was so inept. Now her parents will definitely do everything they can to get rid of her. When the maid had cleaned up the floor and everyone had finally settled down, Sebastian spoke. "It's nice in your village, the fresh air, the freedom. My childhood was spent in the countryside with my grandmother, too." "That's true." Looking at him dreamily, Emily answered, "But I want to move to the city as soon as possible. As soon as I get married to Robert, I will not stay a day in the village. Your house is big enough room for everyone. It's good that you don't have to rent an apartment. A lot of our girls work for an apartment. Do you know how expensive it is to rent an apartment nowadays? And I was lucky, yes, my favorite." She smiled sweetly at the young man. "Well, maybe you will not be very comfortable to live with us." Cautiously asked the mother. "Usually young people try to live away from their parents." "Why not?" "You've got a big place to dance. We don't even have to see each other. We'll take a part of the second floor, for example. Surely there's an emergency exit in the house." She hummed in satisfaction when her father nodded his head, confirming her guess. "But our villagers will have one when I tell them what a fancy house I'll be living in. Even having a baby won't be a problem. Robert will hire a nanny, and we've put them in a separate room next to you." "Oh, I love it here. I'd move in right now." "Too bad Grandma will be alone. Maybe you have a room for her, too." "We'll find a room for her." "Oh, we'll all live here." Robert realized from the confused look on his parents' faces that it was time to end the show. He was afraid of overdoing it. "I'm sorry," he said, rising from the table. "But we should get going. I have to take Emily home, and then I have some errands to run." Everyone stood up. "I apologize if I did something wrong," Emily said. She was terribly ashamed of her behavior. She was intelligent, well-mannered, and could hardly restrain herself not to immediately confess everything to her unhappy and frightened parents. "I'm very glad Robert has such a good mom and dad. Goodbye," smiling politely. The parents walked the young people to the car and breathed a sigh of relief as they drove away from the house. "What was that all about?" the father inquired. "Where did he get this country girl from?" "He always liked glamorous girls. I expected a bright blonde with plump lips and a tight dress that left no room for imagination. And this, you know," Kathy said thoughtfully, "there's something about her." "Yes, she's different, but you've noticed, Father, she's not lost her shyness and blushing." It's so unusual. That's the first thing I noticed, by the way, but I kept quiet. So what do we do now? We'll see. While the parents were at a loss as to why their son had brought to their house a girl who was not suitable for him, young people sat in the car, looked at each other, and finally gave vent to their stifling laughter. "You're so imaginative." Robert laughed. "I almost didn't believe that you were really so ill-mannered and that you were using me to get out of town. You have no idea." Laughing to the point of tears, said Emily. "How ashamed I was to behave like that. I'm not like that at all. And there are no such people in my neighborhood. I just remembered the heroine of some show and copied her behavior. Hey, have you ever thought about being an actress? You could play such an idiot on stage. I did it." The girl grew serious. "Only for her grandmother's sake. I hope I don't have to meet your parents again. I don't want to deceive them again. I was immediately disgusted to take part in your play." "Don't worry about it," the young man said lightly. "I'm sure they will already today forbid me to communicate with you even close. You've done your job. When do I get the money?" "As soon as my parents demand that I break up with you immediately, I will immediately transfer the amount to your account. No offense, but I need to make sure we're on the same page." When Robert returned home, he expected his parents to attack him with righteous anger, but nothing happened. They locked themselves away. The young man grinned, probably cleaning up his feelings about Emily. "Okay, I won't go to them. Let them calm down, think it over. Let's leave the conversation until morning." He went quietly to his room, and confident that his plan had worked, fell into a deep sleep. "Son?" 2 days later, Sebastian reminded him. "My mother and I have decided to have a celebration on the occasion of our 30th anniversary together. We have already ordered dinner at our favorite restaurant. I congratulate you." Robert was worried. "That's right," solemnly announced the father. "Mother and I want to see you with Emily, of course." "What about Emily?" The young man was stunned. "I thought you didn't want her in our house anymore." Sebastian knew his son very well, so he realized at once that he was up to something, but he couldn't figure out what. "She's certainly peculiar," the man said, "but she's very open and kind, no matter how strange it may seem." The mother interjected. "We liked her." "Of course," added the father. "We'll have to work with her a little to teach her some basic table manners, say, but it's all such trifles. The main thing is that she's sincere." "Robert, how many grades of education does she have?" 11, mechanically answered the young man. He suddenly realized that his plan had failed miserably. "That's wonderful," Kathy exclaimed. "We'll hire tutors and prepare her for college. She seemed a little silly to me at first, but I was shocked by her behavior at the table. But then my father and I discussed it all and realized her directness and ingenuousness were to blame, and it can be cured." The woman laughed. "But it is impossible to teach kindness and openness." "I agree with my mother. It is rare to meet such girls nowadays. She only needs a little dressing up and makeup. With your permission, I'll do it myself. It needs a woman's hand. I'll do everything. I'll pick out dresses for her in advance. I'll enroll her in a beauty parlor. We'll make a real gem of an evening out of her." "I think," discreetly, Robert remarked, "she won't agree to go to the beauty parlor with you, and she won't accept the dress. You don't know girls. They're ready to store all day long. And you don't know Emily," parried Robert. What a bastard! He thought angrily. His insides were boiling with indignation. It seems my plan has really failed. I've missed something. But I won't give up so easily. As he left the house, he immediately started calling Emily. "They like you." He boiled. I didn't expect them to like you. They really believe that you are my fiancé. Who's here?" Emily asked, nodding her head at the young man and girl who had entered the room. "This is my friend David." "Shit," Robert cursed. "What bad timing." "David?" Kathy smiled. "Why are you, dear, late?" The woman picked up the young man with one hand and the girl with the other and led him over to Emily and Robert. "You probably haven't met Emily yet, have you? This is our son's fiancé. He has kept her so carefully hidden from us, he's no good." The girl saw David's eyes open wide in surprise. He had already opened his mouth to say something when Robert interrupted his friend. "David, I have something urgent to discuss with you. Shall we? Explain what's going on." David stared at him in bewilderment. "Who is this girl? And why is your mother calling her your fiancée?" "I thought she was your fiancée, Kelly. What, did you trade her for this one?" He nodded his head toward Emily and wrinkled his nose. "I don't know how you could get involved with her and bring her here." "Are you out of your mind?" "Shut up." Robert stopped his friend. "It's not what you think." And he told me about the bride his parents had set him up with and the pact with Emily. "So she's making this play in front of her parents just for the money?" "Yes, and I'm begging you not to tell anyone, especially Kelly. She can't know anything." "Swear you won't say anything." "I swear," promised David. "But I don't suppose your mother would mind a bride like that, would she?" "That's the trouble. We agreed that Emily would get drunk, which would make her parents angry, but now I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't bother them. I can help you." "How?" "I'll seduce her in front of everyone. I don't think Kathy and Sebastian can forgive her for cheating on them. Just don't go overboard. I don't want a scandal." "Don't worry, you'll see a little flirting, and then in front of your parents, I'll steal her away. They're smart people. They'll know why we're going to be alone." "How do you like that idea?" "It's not a bad idea." Robert said hesitantly, "Will my fiancée fall for it? Maybe I should warn her." "Let her play along." "Absolutely not. It has to look natural." "Are you questioning my ability to seduce girls?" With a conspiratorial wink at his friend, David headed over to Emily. "Emily?" He decided to take the bull by the horns. "You're adorable. May I have this dance?" "Oh." She was embarrassed and looked anxiously back at Robert. "I can't dance." "Oh, that's all right. We'll fix that. In fact, I think Robert will mind. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I entertained his fiancée a little. I can see you've been bored." He put his arm around her and led her to the dance floor. David put one hand on her back and the other below her waist. "I don't like you hugging me too frivolously," Emily said sternly to her partner. She was already drunk, but she realized that her friend Robert was up to something indecent. "Come on," roughly said David right in her ear. "I know everything. You don't have to pretend with me. I can see right through people like you. Robert, I know you're easily seduced, doll, and your fiancé's parents must realize that, so you'll have to play along. I'm sure it won't be too hard for you, though. Robert's not your first hookup, is he? Come on, give me a big hug. If you start getting handsy." She gave him a threatening look, Emily. "I'm not responsible for myself. I might punch you. I doubt anyone can stop me from doing that. We have to look natural for my friend's parents to believe that you're just a corrupt wench and can get carried away with anyone, especially when drunk. I've seen you with a glass of wine, and Robert's parents saw it too. Now I'm gonna have to kiss you, so let's not disappoint them. Just try it." With indignation, she gritted her teeth. "You'll have to be patient, otherwise no one will believe that you are easy to seduce." With these words, he sank his lips into hers. And now the next act of the play awaits the audience. It's time for us to get some privacy." Emily swayed slightly, not firmly followed David, accompanied by the perplexed looks of Robert's parents. Emily didn't care what they thought of her. In the morning, she opened her eyes with difficulty. Her head ached and her mouth felt as dry as the Sahara. She struggled to get out of bed and went to the kitchen. She drank a glass of water and looked into her grandmother's room. "Why are you lying down?" she asked her. "Are you sick? Maybe an ambulance? What's wrong with you, granddaughter?" The grandmother asked anxiously. "I've never seen you like this in my life. Why did you get drunk? I was so scared when they brought you in the car. You didn't look like yourself. Disheveled, I couldn't say a word. I had another heart attack, and today I can't get up. I'm sorry, Grandma, for upsetting you. I'm so ashamed, really. Why did you do that? Did I teach you to do that? And it's so embarrassing in front of the neighbors. But please forgive me. I'm really worried about you. How can you stay here alone? I don't have long to live. God forbid if you get addicted to drink. Who will support you?" "What's wrong, Grandma?" Emily sat on the edge of the bed next to the old woman. "That was the first and last time. And you're not going to die. We'll definitely think of something." "No, you can't help me now. How are we going to get the money for the operation? I'll live as long as God gives me. I wish you'd get better. I don't want to leave with a heavy heart. I just want to know that you found your happiness. Otherwise, you'll be all alone." Jenna leaned back on the pillow. "I'm tired. You go, I'll sleep a little." Emily went back to her room, lay down on the bed and thought, what to do? With Robert, the idea did not work out. Why did she even agree to participate in this adventure? For my grandmother's sake, of course, only for her. But now I can't take money from him. I don't need anything from him at all. The girl jumped out of bed and went to the window. "I like him." Suddenly she confessed. "Oh my God!" Emily grabbed her head. "What am I thinking? How can I, a country girl, dream of such a guy? He's got a fiancée. She's a match for me. Will he pay attention to me? He's probably forgotten my name by now. That's what I should do. Don't look at other people's fiancés. That's all." She shook her head. It is necessary to throw out bad thoughts and continue to live as before. All these acquaintances with the sons of rich parents has not brought happiness to anyone. I need to think about work and my grandmother. Yes, it's decided, she said firmly to herself. I will never agree to meet him again. I must stop all communication with him before I finally lost my head. Forget it like a bad dream. Emily? Jenna looked out the window one night and said, "What's that car parked in front of our house?" "It's a stranger." "Strange? Who could it be?" "You don't know?" "I know. The girl's a little gloomy. I'll find out." She went out into the street with a shawl over her shoulders. "Why did you come here?" She spoke sharply. "I told you not to bother my grandmother. Why didn't you call? You can't say everything on the phone, and I have no one else to talk to." Robert confessed, approaching her. "The whole plan is down the drain. David, my so-called friend," he grinned wryly. "He'd dropped in on my parents by accident, and he'd said so much. I didn't expect it from him. He set me up. He said that you were only with me for money, and he told me that a couple months ago I had another girl. I don't know what to do now. How do I face my parents?" The best part. Emily looked boldly at Robert. "Explain yourself to your parents. Stop lying. They don't deserve to be treated like this. Confess everything. It'll be easier on yourself. I'm sure they'll understand you. They're not animals. They're just wishing you happiness, not realizing you have a sweetheart. No. I can't tell them everything right now. You said you'd help, so you have to follow through. Don't count on me. the girl replied firmly, "I refuse to take part in this farce. I've done so much already. This is for your amusement, and I have no time to play with toys. I have to think about where to find money for my grandmother's operation. Leave me alone. Don't worry about it. I'm ready to pay for your grandma's treatment. Give me an account to transfer the money to." But I didn't keep my end of the bargain. "I don't care. I don't care anymore. If I say I'll help you, I'll help you without conditions." "Well, I don't know." Emily's confused. "I don't feel comfortable taking money from you, so David's right. David is a traitor. I don't know why he even got involved in this case, but I'll figure it out. Tell me where to wire the money, and I will do it immediately." Jenna's operation was a success. It was done as soon as the money came in. "Everything's going well," the attending physician remarked. "Your grandmother will be back home as good as new." "Thank you, doctor." Grandma was on the mend. The girl was flying on wings until one day the phone rang. "Emily?" One day she heard the phone ring. "It's Kathy, Robert's mom. Remember me? You were at our house and then at the restaurant where you disappeared so suddenly with David?" "Yes, of course I remember. Hello." "Orabev," the girl replied, "I forbid you to mess with my son's head. I know that you decided to marry Robert for the money, and I know that you have already received a tidy sum on your account. Well, I don't want you anywhere near my son anymore. You got your money in your pocket. Leave Robert alone. Shame on you for covering up for Grandma's illness." "But the girl tried to explain. "I'm not going to listen to your lies. It is you with your beauty and supposed innocence turned my son's head, but I will not be fooled. I know you're kind. I forbid you to come within a cannon shot of my son. If you try anything else to trick him, I'll go to the police." "You're a fraud. That's not true. You're wrong. I don't want to hear a word of it. You got the money, disappeared, broke Robert's heart, and how nice you seemed to Sebastian and me. But in fact, you turned out to be a calculating hypocrite. You've gained our trust, so that your foot in our house will not be in our house anymore." Emily, discouraged by the call, listened silently to the short beeps in the receiver. "What did you want?" she said, trying to hold back her tears. Everything had happened as planned. Now for the real bride, Robert. The road is clear. We have achieved our goal. And me. The girl threw the phone on the table and cried. Robert walked from corner to corner, measuring the room with his steps, glancing nervously at his watch. "It's time to go to the airport," he remarked. "I can't be late and not meet Kelly on time." He quickly got into the car. "Kelly?" He opened his arms to the girl. "I didn't expect you to come now. You were going to be home in 2 months, weren't you? This is for you." He handed her a bouquet of red roses. "What's wrong? You're the one I should be asking. What happened?" Coldly, the girl answered him. "I don't know what you mean." "David called me and told me you had another fiancé. You think I was supposed to sit around and wait for you to marry her? I demand an explanation. Why are you listening to him?" Robert laughed nervously. "He's always been jealous of me. I think he told you that on purpose so that you would leave me. Don't you know he's jealous of you? He was just waiting for a chance to break us up. I don't really have any other fiancé but you." "You mean?" The girl looked at him suspiciously. "He's making it all up?" "Not exactly." Robert hesitated. "Why don't we sit down somewhere and I'll explain it all to you?" "All right." Kelly agreed reluctantly. "But that doesn't mean I've forgiven you." The young people arrived at the restaurant. Robert ordered dinner. "Look, I did it for us. My parents have the idea of marrying me off to the daughter of a friend of my father's. They wanted to boost business, but they forgot to ask me if I wanted to marry her. What was I supposed to do? I came up with a plan, and Emily came along. Oh, so the girl David was talking about was a girl? I'm not saying no. She must have turned my parents against me. They would have forbidden me to marry her. I would naturally be in inconsolable grief for some time, until my father relented and gave me permission to marry the one I had long considered my fiancée. You do not deceive me. Kelly looked at him jealously. Was it all like this? Of course it was. Why would I deceive you? Everything I do is just for you and me. And the money? Did you really pay her? I did. She kept her end of the bargain, but most importantly, the plan worked, and now I can introduce you to your parents. When were you going to tell me all this? I was expecting you in 2 months. I couldn't have said anything over the phone. You wouldn't have talked to me. Now do you believe that I didn't cheat on you? Tell me, am I forgiven? I haven't decided yet. The beauty said haughtily, when you introduce me to your parents, then we'll see. Robert's decision to talk to his parents was not easy. Mom, Dad, when the moment was right, he said, I have something to confess to you. What is it? I have to tell you that Emily is not my fiancée. I lied to you. What, not your fiancée? Kathy was shocked by the message. Then who is? I met her by accident. She scratched my car. Since she didn't have the money to fix it, I offered to help her out a little. What kind of game are you playing? Dad frowned. I don't want to marry the girl you insist on marrying. In fact, I have a fiancée, and I love her very much. Wait, so everything that's been going on here lately is a hoax, an act? The mother looked at Robert in confusion. And who is this girl really? Her name is really Emily. She really lives in the countryside, but she has a college degree. She is a veterinarian. But she pretended to be your fiancée for money. She did it to save her grandmother, not for profit. Her grandmother needed heart surgery, so we made a deal. She helps me, and I help her. Do you realize I said some pretty nasty things to her on the phone? Kathy, pale as chalk, was furious with her son. I accused the poor girl of God knows what, and I didn't even give her a chance to defend herself. What position have you put us in? For God's sake, tell me, how is she doing? I haven't seen her in a long time. But have you even tried calling her? Many times, but she doesn't answer and ignores my messages. Why are you doing this, Robert? Sebastian looked angrily at his son. Couldn't you have come and told her you didn't want to get married? I couldn't. Robert was desperate. You've been running around with that bride of yours like a piece of paper, praising her, telling everyone about your upcoming wedding. What would you say to me, Papa, if I came and said I didn't want to marry that girl? I wanted to marry this girl. Would you have listened to me? I had to cheat, and you involved an innocent girl in your schemes. Anyway, now you know everything. I'd like you to meet my real fiancée, Kelly. She just got back from overseas. No way. Father cut me off. Stop us from making new acquaintances. You better deal with your fiancés first. Mom. Robert turned to her, looking for support. Father's right. Kathy said thoughtfully, when you're sure you're ready to marry her, you can bring her to our house. We don't want to witness any more of your love dramas, and we're not ready to get to know Kelly. Parents, I didn't expect this from you. Robert was desperate. Now he was afraid that Kelly would take offense at his refusal to introduce her to her father and mother. Now this topic is no longer discussed in our house. Sebastian said firmly. Robert thought how to explain himself to Kelly and was afraid of this conversation. However, the girl did not even ask when the meeting with her parents would take place. She, having returned to her homeland, immediately plunged into social life and completely captured the attention of the young man. Robert, the parents were offended. We do not see you at all. I have almost no free time," justified the son. "Kelly doesn't like to stay at home. We then in the club at midnight, then at a restaurant for dinner, and in the afternoon I work. I don't have much time to sleep, and there's no time to go out. She'll drive you crazy. Mother was worried. I really missed her." Robert smiled. Even a minute without her seems irretrievably lost. The young man was being sly. He did not want to admit that the relationship with his beloved was not so cloudless. "Kelly, I'm so glad you're here," he said, admiring his bride. "I'm glad too." She pouted her lips. "But do you know what it cost me to cancel my contract? I've lost so much money, you can't even imagine." "Darling, I'm prepared to reimburse you for all your losses. Ask for anything you want." "Well, I don't know." She raised her eyes to the sky, showing that she was very concerned about the choice of gift. "I've been wanting a new car for a long time. Mine is too simple for your fiancé status. You should be ashamed of yourself." She wagged her finger playfully and winked slyly at the young man. "For having such an old model of car. Okay, let's go to the car dealership tomorrow and buy the one you want." "Honey," Kelly squealed, "you're such a sweetheart. I adore you. This is gonna be the best present ever. I'd forgive you anything for it." The next day they went shopping. "I want this one." Kelly pointed her finger at an expensive SUV. "Why do you need such a huge car?" Robert tried to talk her out of it. "Why don't we find you something more feminine? Just say you didn't have the money." Kelly folded her arms across her chest and turned away from her fiancé. She'd always been cranky, but she'd never disliked that behavior before. Now, however, Robert found himself increasingly annoyed by her petulance. He glimpsed the manager, his face devoid of any emotion, but with a sneer in his eyes. "You gave $50,000 to some girl, and you spared me your fiancé. Why do I have to beg you for gifts? Explain. A real man never refuses his woman anything. Or maybe you've had enough of me. You know I'm not. Calm down, please. You don't have to make a scene here. I'll buy this car. If you like it so much, to please you, I'll take a star out of the sky. No offense." He kissed her on her cheek, which was blushing with annoyance, and nodded to the manager, who was watching the lovers with a nonchalant look. That evening they sat at a table in the restaurant and discussed the purchase. "Honey, I'm so grateful to you for this regal gift. I've already posted a photo of the car on my social media page. I've never gotten so many likes before. The phone does not seize, they call, asking when it will be possible to ride on my Swallow." "Listen, Kelly, I'm gonna need your help soon," interrupted Robert's enthusiastic exclamation. "I have a dinner with a business partner in 3 days. He'll be with his wife, and I need your presence. Darling, can you hear me?" He called out to the girl, who was deftly typing on her phone. "What?" She looked at the groom unhappily, reluctantly, breaking away from her occupation. "Eh? No, sorry, I cannot. Aren't you at all interested in what I do?" "Honey, it's so boring." She wrinkled her nose and looked at the phone again. "I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to leave." "Where?" "We haven't even had lunch yet. My agent texted me." Standing up from the table, Kelly said, "There's a casting call coming up. I can't miss it. I need new contracts. Bye, sweetie." She sent him an air kiss and ran off. "I think." The young man watched thoughtfully as his fiancée quickly got into the car, on the go, talking to someone on the phone. "Kelly, all you need from me is money." She had changed a lot since returning home. She used to be interested in the firm's business. And her temper tantrums, no, we've had fights before, but somehow it doesn't irritate me the way it does now. It feels like she's playing a role, and it turns out It's not sincere. Can't she still forgive me for Emily? It's my fault, of course, but she should realize that this whole stupid situation with the fake bride is long over. That evening, Kelly called Robert and said, "Honey, I'm ready to go out with your partner or whoever, but only on one condition. You give me a necklace. I bought a dress suitable for such a dinner, but my jewelry looks too plain with it." "All right." The young man immediately agreed. "We'll be sure to buy you a necklace. We'll meet at the jewelry salon tomorrow." My heart pricked unpleasantly. Emily would never put conditions on me. She would immediately agree to go with me. Stop! What am I thinking? The young man blushed involuntarily. How easy and simple everything was with Emily, how sincere and heartfelt she was. I had fun and freedom with her. I thought she even liked me. He involuntarily smiled, remembering the cute features of the girl's face, her long hair, simple dress, which sat well on her slender figure. The next day at the jewelry store, Kelly made another disgusted scene. "This necklace will not go with your dress." The saleswoman patiently explained to the girl, "You are thin, and on your chest jewelry will look bulky. Do you realize what you're saying? How dare you embarrass me in front of my fiancé? Who the hell do you think you are? You stupid, brainless chicken." Kelly was outraged. "No, how insolent is that? Robert, she just insulted me, called me skinny, and said that the necklace doesn't fit me." "Kelly," Robert said gently, trying to calm the furious bride, "why don't you look at another one? Just to compare. I think the salesman's right." "I get it." Kelly glared angrily. "You felt sorry for my money because I picked the most expensive necklace? And I didn't really want to buy anything from you guys. I don't want anything. And I'm not going to the appointment. Okay, that stupid sales girl just made me look stupid. But you, Robert, how could you question my taste? Can't I decide what kind of jewelry to match my dress? I'm sorry, my love. If you want, we can buy this necklace." The incident was over, but relations between the young people were getting worse. And more often at such moments, Robert thought of Emily and caught himself thinking that he missed her. "Son," Kathy asked me one day, "when are you going to introduce us to your bride? It's been so long. You don't say a word. Your father doesn't want to talk about it. And what can I do? I want grandchildren. Stop resenting each other. Are you and Kelly coming over for dinner tomorrow night?" Kathy made sure the table was properly set. "The cook has prepared a gourmet meal." "What are you doing here?" "It's like we're hosting royalty." A model, what a profession. Sebastian was angry with his wife. "I don't want to make a fool of myself," she told her husband. The girl lived abroad, accustomed to good cuisine. I wish I had hired a chef from the restaurant. However, our chef also knows a thing or two about food. That's my Kelly. Robert introduced his fiancée to the parents. The girl looked arrogantly at the owners of the house and gritted her teeth. "Hello, I thought you had a bigger house. Robert, he's been buzzing my ears about what a great house you have." "I think so." Sebastian replied discreetly. "There's plenty of room for everyone, but we're not going to live here anyway, are we, love?" She smiled at Robert. "I hope my future husband will buy a house for us. Can we go to the table now?" "I'm starving." Kathy replied confusedly. "Yes, come in. Everything's ready." Kelly looked at the table and sat down at the table. "I've lived abroad. They don't serve too many dishes. We didn't come here to eat. I can't eat too much. I have to keep in shape. I think it's very irrational to spend so much money on food. But I have men in my house," justified the hostess. "They are used to eating well. And you, dear Kathy." The guest remarked, It would be good to look after your figure. After all age, it's time to think about your health. Kelly softly pulled her Robert. You're being defiant. What did I say? She shrugged. Every self-respecting woman should strive to keep young. Dads abroad do not make a cult of food. They watch out for health and appearance. Kelly is right, of course. Barely holding back her tears, her mother said, I do love to eat, and being overweight is ruining me. I actually think, the girl spoke again, it's much better to have these dinners in a restaurant. No dishes, no hassle around the house. I'm not going to spend most of my life in the kitchen. Robert and I will eat at restaurants. Can't we talk about something else? Dad broke the silence. When are you getting married? We haven't talked to Kelly about it yet. Robert was embarrassed. The wedding can wait. Kelly looked sternly at the groom. I've signed a new contract, very favorable and promising for my career, and I'm not going to lose it. What about the grandchildren? Kathy asked shyly. I was so dreaming that you would soon have a little one. Oh, she waved her hands. I don't even think about that. A baby would put an end to my modeling career. No way. No kids while you're young. The age of the model is short. When I'm closer to 40, I can think about children. And in general, diapers, cradles, it's not for me. Kelly's cell phone screen suddenly lit up. She quickly read the message. I'm sorry, but we have to go. She stood up. Honey, will you walk me out? All the way the young people were silent. When the car stopped in front of Kelly's house, the girl suddenly threw a tantrum. What kids? Are they out of their minds? How did your parents even think of having kids? You already promised I'd give them a grandchild. What makes you think I'm ready to marry you right now? I didn't promise anything, justified Robert, confused by his friend's sudden outburst of indignation. We were going to get married, weren't we? You've been acting really weird with your parents, insulting your mom. Why? Because I can't stand it when people make decisions for me. My career comes first, and I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to make a lot of money. I mean, you've been sparing me every little thing. I'm used to not giving up anything. I already lost a very lucrative contract because of you. I had to pay a penalty. So maybe we should just break up. It seems like I'm just a nuisance to you. Why are you being so adamant? Kelly, realizing she'd overreacted, tried to ease the tension. I'm not refusing to marry you. You know what? Without listening to her, Robert proposed, I'll buy you a plane ticket. Go, renew your contract. I don't think it's impossible. I'll even reimburse you for all your expenses. I've only just realized that we're not right for each other. You're probably right. Kelly was quick to agree. As long as you're paying for everything, I'm willing to break up. The quickness with which his now ex-fiancée accepted the payoff alerted Robert, but he didn't bother to find out what she was up to. His thoughts were already turned to someone else. Emily had gone to take care of her grandmother. The old woman recovered slowly after the operation, but the doctors reassured her that everything was going as it should. The girl had no time to indulge in sad thoughts, but sometimes she still gave vent to tears. Probably Robert had already married his model. Emily silently swallowed her tears, pressing her face into the pillow. What did you want? She asked herself. You're no match for him. Who is he and who are you? We should forget it, put it out of our minds. We could never be together anyway. Suddenly the phone rang. Emily shuddered, her heart racing, a ghostly hope flickering somewhere in the back of her mind. She jumped up, grabbed the receiver. It was strange. Who could it be? The girl looked disappointedly at the unfamiliar digits. Listening? Cautiously, she muttered. Hello, I'm Robert's fiancée." Hearing Emily, she was overcome with misgivings. "I know that you, taking advantage of the gullibility of my fiancé, swindled him out of a huge sum of money. He simply believed it was for your sick grandmother. Robert did give it to me, and my grandmother has already had surgery. I haven't misused a dime of it, but it's our family's money. You insolent country girl, how could you ask Robert for money? And when are you going to give it back?" "Robert knows that I have no way to return the money," the girl answered quietly. "Tell you what, I'm not Robert, and I'm not going to let you give away $50,000 to who knows who and why. We're getting married soon. We need that money for the wedding, but I don't have anywhere to get it. Not my concern. I'll give you 3 days to pay me back in full, but I didn't borrow it from you. Robert and I will decide how to pay it back. I know how you'll work it out. He'll be too embarrassed to demand it from you. He'll prefer to forgive it. That's why he asked me to deal with you." Robert did. Of course, he'd never do it himself, but I won't let him waste our money. You'll pay it all back, and don't you dare call my fiancé. He's not the only one who decides where to spend the family's money. I am the owner, so I expect the full amount in 3 days. Emily heard a short, ringing tone. Kelly hung up. The girl looked at the phone in horror. "Where will I find such money?" In despair, she exclaimed, "It's impossible to raise that amount in 3 days. Granddaughter?" She heard her grandmother's worried voice. "What's wrong?" "Grandma." Emily, in tears, entered the old woman's room. "I don't know what to do. Robert's fiancé just called, demanded the money back, and gave me only 3 days to do it. What are we supposed to do? It's a disaster. It's easier to die than to try to pay back such a sum. Our whole village isn't worth that much." "Wait," Jenna stopped her. "What does this have to do with Robert's fiancé? If you took money from him, have you talked to him yet?" "No, she forbade him to call, said he couldn't ask me for it. So she took it upon herself to get us out of debt." "That's weird. That didn't sound like Robert at all." The older woman said thoughtfully, "Call him, ask him to wait, and then he volunteered to help. Something's not right here. Call him, let him tell you why he needs money so suddenly." Emily thought for a moment, then hesitantly dialed a familiar number. "Emily?" she heard. "Is something wrong with Grandma?" "Hello." "Grandma's fine. I'm calling to ask for an extension. We can't raise all the money in such a short time. You know my salary is small." "Wait, I don't know what you're talking about." "What are you talking about?" "Kelly, your fiancée, called me and demanded that I pay her back because I need the money for the wedding." "Kelly called you?" "Yeah, she said you asked her to talk to me, and we're all at a loss as to what to do. I can't even get a loan from the bank for that kind of money. I didn't ask her to do anything like that." He was silent. Emily could only hear his heavy breathing in the tube. "That's what, don't do anything, and calm your grandmother down. I'll solve everything and call you back." Robert, outraged and confused, went to his friend David for advice on how to put his exploding ex-fiancée in her place. "Robert?" David clearly wasn't expecting to see his friend. "Come in." The young man went into the kitchen, followed by the landlord. "What a surprise!" he exclaimed when he saw his ex-fiancée. "And I just wanted to talk to you. What are you doing here? I thought you had already packed your bags and left. You're wasting your time with David. He doesn't have the money to support you." "Robert?" David was nervous. "You've got it all wrong. Kelly came to me for advice." "I wonder what advice you gave her." Making himself comfortable at the table, Robert asked, "How to get me back?" "You don't have to try. It won't work. I'm even glad it's over between us. I realized that I never really loved you. I never loved you." The girl cried out and sobbed. She was fired from her job, the friend said. She stayed there as long as there was money and as long as she hoped that. David looked guiltily at Robert. Her young man would come back to her. "Yes, yes, 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 I'm in love. He's 1,000 times better than you. He's so beautiful. That's who I truly loved." Kelly cried through her tears. She kept him all this time, and when the money ran out, she had to come back to you. And she pulled money out of me until I realized that my fiancé came back from abroad, a completely different person, and decided to break up with her. "Did you tell me everything?" The girl looked at David angrily. "And now tell your friend how you offered to deceive him and get a tidy sum for it." "What?" Robert was stunned. "David, what is she talking about?" "Oh, yes." The young man blushed. "I suggested that she call Emily and demand that she pay back what she owed. It's your own fault." He lashed out at his friend. "He gave some girl all that money. Kelly was your fiancée, but she couldn't even dream of that kind of money." "It's my family's money," Robert said, looking at David menacingly. "I decide what to do with it. She didn't tell you about the new SUV, about the diamond necklace I bought not too long ago. Was that not enough for her? No, she didn't talk about your gifts." The young man shrank under his friend's scornful gaze. "You know, I'm not even upset that you, Kelly, lied to me. Not only did you hide the fact that you lost your job and fell in love with someone else, you opened my eyes. And I'm grateful for that. Even ready to the plane ticket. Add the amount for rent for a month. Consider it compensation for not making a scandal at the breakup. But that's it. Let your lover support you now. Bye, guys." He got up from the table and headed for the exit. "Have a nice stay." "Robert, where are you going?" David asked him. "To a place where I am truly loved, not for money, just because I am me." The young man got into the car. All the way he smiled, imagining that soon he would hug his beloved. "Robert?" Emily jumped out into the street, noticing the familiar car. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see you," he answered simply. "What about your wedding?" The girl asked confusedly. "There will be one. You will marry me, won't you?" He took out of his pocket a ring of white and yellow gold, decorated with small diamonds, and put it on her finger. "It's only thanks to you that I realized what true love is. What about your fiancée? She's flying to her lover's house the other day. I'm not even angry with her because I never loved her. I got used to her. She was always there, bright, beautiful, but her beauty was false. You taught me to see a different kind of beauty, a soulful beauty. With you, it's like I've been cured of a serious illness. And now I stand before you and ask you to be my wife. Do you accept?" "Yes, I do. I love you." Emily threw herself on his neck, hugged him, and there was no need to hide her feelings. She looked at her chosen one with happy eyes. "I love you." Robert leaned down and kissed the girl. Jenna looked at them from the window and smiled. The elderly woman crossed the young couple 3 times and whispered softly, "God bless."